Heavenly Father, we come before your altar this morning. We want to thank you for the gift of life. We come before you with gratitude and in humility as we launch this daily competitiveness report. As we discuss this morning, give us the wisdom, give us the insights that can spur this sector forward. Oh Lord, bless the efforts of those behind this report. Bless our farmers, bless our processors, bless our financiers, bless our distributors, and bless our consumers. Heavenly Father, give us the courage and the strength to act upon all the identified competitiveness gaps within the sector, as well as seize the opportunities. Give us the spirit of collaboration, the spirit of wisdom amongst all players in the value chain. We surrender everything unto you, O Lord. As we discuss this report, help us, O Lord, that it may be a beacon of hope and a roadmap for fruitfulness, abundance, and sustainability. We give all honor and glory unto your name. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, we pray. Amen.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mzimba, for the opening prayer. May we all rise for the national anthem. Right. We want to see whether we are able to sing the national anthem without the leader. 1, 2, 3, sing. Vashandi vatuske ruzhinji rugutswe ngai komborerwe nyika yeZimbabwe. Mwari ropafadzai nyika yeZimbabwe, nyika yamadzitateguru before we sit down, let's clap our hands for singing the national anthem without the leader. Okay, thank you very much. Let's take our seats. You know, we are used to have the national anthem being led by a band and so forth, isn't it? But at least the good thing is we are remembering the words of the national anthem, even if we are being lost here and there, but at least we've got an idea of some of the words. Okay. I want to welcome all the players in the program, the National Competitiveness Commission, the farmers who are here present, the processors who are also here present, the consumers who are here present, the different ministries who are represented here, and all those other stakeholders, the sponsors, for example, DIT, who are also here. I welcome you all to the launch of the Zimbabwe National, the Daily Value Chain Competitiveness Report, which will be actually giving us insights and also directions in terms of how we are doing compared to other countries. The issue to do with the farm gate price, the issue to do with our consumption per day, per capita, and other things, which are part and parcel of actually the measures that we use to measure elements to do with what the competitiveness. Now, before I say so many things, let me actually welcome our NCC Executive Director to come and give us maybe a welcome remark. We are going to have dual welcome remarks, one from NCC and then the other one from the Zimbabwe Dairy Industrial Trust. So let me start by actually inviting our Executive Director to welcome the stakeholders and the participants of this function.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kaseke. Thank you so much for this gathering today, where we are coming to deliberate on the Dairy Value Chain Competitiveness Report. Maybe let me start with the protocols. I'd like to recognize in our presence, I don't know whether to say Mike Kwaramba, the Minister, or the Secretary, but I would like to acknowledge the presence of the Minister in absentia, who was supposed to be here, but because of other programs, he could not be able to be here, including the Permanent Secretary. But they are duly represented by Mrs. Kwaramba here and Mr. Chitopo. I also want to recognize from the Minister of Agriculture. I know the representatives are coming from the Minister of Agriculture, and all other permanent secretaries here present or their representatives and senior government officials. I also like to recognize the presence of our board member, Commissioner Shingi Manyeruke, here with us today, duly representing the NCC board. I would look also to recognize the presence of the captains of industry, the leadership at the Zimbabwe Dairy Trust and the Dairy Farmers Association, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this important occasion to officially launch the Zimbabwe Dairy Sector Value Chain Report. Today marks a significant milestone in our shared efforts to revitalize and transform Zimbabwe's dairy industry in a more competitive and inclusive sustainable sector. The dairy sector plays a crucial role in our national economy, not only as a source of nutrition and food security, but also as a vital contributor to the livelihoods, employment, and rural development. Earlier on today at tea, I was discussing with farmers and I was expressing my gratitude for their presence in this, because what we must understand is that we need to start creating a viable environment, a prosperous Zimbabwe, step by step, sector by sector, and the fact that we are here today gathered to look at the dairy sector with the farmers being here, the processors being here, signifies NCC's commitment to achieving Vision 2030 and building the nation step by step, brick by brick. This also takes me to a point where I'm actually impressed by the work that was done by the NCC team in collaboration with the industry players to come up with this report. This comprehensive report was built through a collaborative effort involving all stakeholders from government, private sector, development partners, and farmer organizations. This report will provide a clear picture of the current state of the dairy value chain. More importantly, it offers actionable insights and recommendations that will help us chart a path towards a more resilient and competitive dairy industry. As you are well aware that the government has been on record talking about creating an upper middle income economy. And the only way this can be achieved is if we make each and every sector that contributes to our economy more competitive. It is important that each and every farmer here understands the role they play in terms of employment creation and also wealth creation of this nation. It is not a singular effort from a singular entity, but a collaborative effort from all of us, right from the farmer, the industry, government, and development cooperation partners here with us today. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you all for being here and for all playing a part in the production of this report. I look forward to deliberations today and resolutions that will be made that will give us more guidance and insights as to what more needs to be done to make this sector more competitive. With these welcome remarks, I would like to welcome you to this launch. Thank you.
That was the Executive Director of NCC. Thank you very much for your welcome remarks. Let's also have another welcome remarks from the Chairperson, Zimbabwe Dairy Industry Trust, Tim Tribe.
Thank you, Dr. Kaseke. I'll start by the protocol. I'd like to recognize the Permanent Secretary in the Industry and Commerce, Dr. Usheutete in absentia. I would also want to recognize the Permanent Secretary for Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development in absentia, Professor Ojiri, the Chief Director in the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, Dr. Runyowa, the Chief Director in the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Dr. Makaya, the Chairperson of the National Competitiveness Commission, Mrs. P. Chimuka, the Chairman of the Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers, Mr. E. Warambwa, senior government officials here present, representatives from the National Competitiveness Commission, our valued dairy farmers, processors, stakeholders, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. If I've skipped someone, I'll say all protocols observed. Good morning to you all. It is with great pride, optimism, and a sense of purpose that I stand before you today as the chairman of the Zimbabwe Dairy Industry Trust to officially welcome you to this momentous occasion, the launch of the Dairy Value Chain Report, which was an invention of the National Competitiveness Commission. We are greatly honored by the presence of government officials and various stakeholders in the dairy value chain. This is testimony to the fact that the dairy sector is a critical pillar in our economy as it provides food and nutrition security. It improves rural livelihoods as well as enhancing industrial development. Ladies and gentlemen, today marks a significant milestone in our collective journey to revitalize and modernize Zimbabwe's dairy sector. This report, which we are launching today, is a result of extensive research, collaboration, and engagement with stakeholders across the entire dairy value chain, from our hardworking farmers to processors, retailers, policymakers, financiers, and development partners. As I said earlier on, our dairy sector is a critical pillar of Zimbabwe's agricultural economy. It sustains thousands of livelihoods, contributes to nutrition and food security, and has the potential to generate substantial value for our economy. Yet, we are all aware that it also faces challenges, including low production levels, high cost of inputs, infrastructure deficits, and the impacts of climate change. This report we are launching today provides not just an analysis of the current state of the sector, but also practical recommendations and a roadmap to unlock the potential that exists. It identifies opportunities to improve productivity and enhance competitiveness. That is in comparison with regional parity as well as global trends in dairy. It also provides opportunities to grow domestic milk production efficiently and thus achieve self-sufficiency in this sector. It is against this background that the National Competitiveness Commission, in collaboration with the ZDIT, took on this task to develop a comprehensive dairy value chain analysis and come up with this report. This report provides a data-driven insight into the current state of our dairy sector, and also it identifies the competitive gaps and proposes strategic recommendations to address them. We believe this report will serve as a practical roadmap to guide policymakers, investors, and stakeholders as we work towards achieving our national targets, such as increasing milk production to meet and surpass national demand. Our national demand should be benchmarked through per capita consumption and not absolute figures, because we should be benchmarking with good practices. We also expecting enhancing value addition and local processing capacities, and contributing meaningfully to the national development strategies and livestock growth objectives. As ZDIT, we remain committed to working closely with government, development partners, private sector, and our hard-working farmers to implement practical interventions that will transform our sector into a vibrant, competitive, and sustainable industry. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank the National Competitiveness Commission team for their dedication and professionalism throughout this study. I would like also to thank all stakeholders who provided insights and support to ensure the report is comprehensive and reflective of ground realities. And last but not least, the government of Zimbabwe for its continued support to the dairy sector. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I warmly welcome you all to this launch. I encourage us to engage deeply with this report's findings and recommendations, and to chart sustainable ways to develop dairy sector's growth agenda and competitiveness. I wish you fruitful deliberations and a successful launch. I thank you.
Those were the words from ZDIT in terms of the industry and also in terms of the sector. But I have one question for you, sir. You have said that we don't want to be basing this on figures. But in the circles, we only hear that we want to meet 120 million liters of per annum in terms of milk production. Is that based on the milk per capita consumption, the 120 million liters that we always talk about? That's the target that we want to meet as government, as a country. Is it based on the milk per capita consumption? Because if it is based on the milk per capita consumption, if I divide it by 15 million, I get an average of 8 liters per year, per person. If I divide it again by 365 days per year, I get an average of 0.02, one something liters per watt per day. Is it enough? Or else the other figure that we now use to determine that? Or else we may now go back and say that since 60% are rural-based and 40%, even if we do that, we still get an average of about 0.05 liters per watt per day per person. So is the 120 million liters enough that we are targeting? Maybe this is a question that is going to be answered throughout the discussion. But thanks very much for the insights in terms of the opening remarks that have been provided. Now, we are moving on to the next gear. We want to invite the Chief Director from the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water, and Rural Development to give the opening remarks.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would want to observe the Secretary for Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water, and Rural Development, Professor Jiri, in absentia, the Secretary for Industry and Commerce, Dr. Hushe, directors, chief executive officers in the government, departments, and the parastatals, and all government representatives here present, National Competitiveness Commission Board Chairperson, Ms. Chimuka, National Competitiveness Commission Executive Director, Mr. Piri, Chairman, Zimbabwe Dairy Industry Trust, Mr. Mchairo, National Chairman, Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers, Mr. Warambwa, Farmer Unions and Commodity Association representatives, development partners, dairy value stakeholders here present, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege and honor to stand before you as we mark the significant milestone in the development of our nation's agricultural sector. Today, we launch an initiative that has the potential to transform lives, strengthen livelihoods, and unlock new opportunities. Our dairy value chain competitiveness report, which was compiled by the National Competitiveness Commission. Globally, the dairy sector contributes significantly to the agricultural landscape, accounting for approximately 14% of the global agricultural trade. In Zimbabwe, agricultural sector is one of the key sectors on Zimbabwe's economy, serving as the main employer with over 60% of the population in the sector and the second largest source of export earnings. It accounts for 23% of formal employment and supplies 63% of the raw materials essential for manufacturing. Furthermore, the sector contributes 30% in export earnings and 15% in gross domestic product, GDP. DVS, that is the Directorate of Veterinary Services in the Ministry of Agriculture, the main mandate of DVS is actually to prevent entry of disease and its spread in the country, focusing mainly on zoonotic and diseases of economic importance. That includes FMD as a disease of economic importance. I was very excited one time when Paeda heard that we had an outbreak in Boera. And she phoned me and said, can we buy vaccine for our dairy farmers from Botswana? And we quickly facilitated that. It was a very good initiative. Yes, Zimbabwe has got some outbreaks now, but they are being resolved. The Boera outbreak, the Bikita outbreak, and the Bite-Bri outbreak of FMD are being resolved now. But our problem was the vaccine. And I'm reliably informed by our ministry that this week we are going to pay off our credits with BVI, that's the Botswana Vaccine Institute, and we are going to, after that, we are going to get some more vaccines. We are going to make sure that your dairy, your dairy head is safe. We are going to have a mass vaccination program. As soon as the vaccines come, we're going to do a mass vaccination program in Manicaland, targeting Boera, Mashingo targeting Bikita, and parts of Gutu, as well as Matabele and South, covering Bite-Bri. We as a directorate, as I said, we facilitate trade through the control of diseases. Some people used to call us Peshuro. You go to Kobata, Mukati, Tichipisa, but that is not the objective. The objective is to control disease so that farmers have access to local, regional, and international trade. So that is our objective. We are also trying to prove to the International Organization for Animal Health that Zimbabwe is free from PPR. That is a plague which affects goats and sheep mainly. And if we get that recognition from WHOA, that is the World Organization for Animal Health, we will open markets also for goats. So I know dairy farmers sometimes we also do some small ruminants. That will be another opportunity. Tick-borne diseases, yes, I'm getting reports that we do have some hotspots of theileriosis. But we had also some problems with procuring the different chemicals, but we, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to serve the suppliers very soon, and we are going to have enough different chemicals to save our head. I know dairy farmers, they always comply, they always listen to what government says, and we are sure that this disease, including other tick-borne diseases, will be controlled. I just wanted to tell you, as farmers, that we do have a threat of another serotype of FMD, which has been confirmed in Mozambique, Zambia. And it is really our responsibility to ensure that that disease doesn't come from Mozambique. We do have a problem. Some farmers buy cattle from Mozambique at cheap prices and bring them to Zimbabwe. We are going to have a bilateral meeting with Mozambique to ensure that we stop that. because we wouldn't want to have the serotype O of the FMD disease. This initiative is not just about production, that is the value chain launch. It is about value addition, innovation, and collaboration. By strengthening linkages between farmers, processors, and retailers, we are laying the foundation for a more efficient and viable dairy industry. We envision a future where dairy farmers thrive, new technologies enhance productivity, and consumers enjoy quality dairy products at affordable prices, hereby enhancing our production of milk and other products, dairy products. Today, I invite all stakeholders, farmers, processors, consumers, academia, policymakers to actively participate in shaping the future of the dairy industry. With dedication, innovation, and collaboration, we can ensure that the dairy value chain contributes meaningfully to our agricultural transformation and economic development. Let me express my gratitude to the National Competitiveness Commission and dairy value chain stakeholders for putting together this insightful report. Let us embrace this opportunity and work together to achieve lasting impact. I thank you all for your commitment to this journey, and I look forward to witnessing the positive change that this initiative will bring. I thank you.
Let us give him another round of applause again. Thank you very much for those insights. But I also have a question for you. Why do we have so much movement of animals in Zimbabwe? Where is the problem? Because every day in our roads, there is always a truck full of animals moving from one area to another area. Can we not open abattoirs in those areas so that they come in to Harare as meat, not as animals? So that we minimize this outbreak of what foot and mouth disease. Maybe that's food for thought, Director. I think that's maybe as Zimbabwe what should be aiming for, to create actually jobs in terms of where those animals are coming from. And we minimize the movement of these animals, because FMD is mostly associated with the movement of animals. So if we are able to do that, I think we are able to minimize or limit that. But as a ministry, I didn't hear what exactly we are doing to assist dairy farmers due to climate change. I think maybe there are some programs or there are some policies which are being implemented to actually enhance this to do with with climate change. But I want to applaud the Ministry of our Lands, Agriculture, and also Ministry of Industry for actually restricting imports of milk into the country, so that we also promote our dairy farmers, our dairy local farmers in Zimbabwe. I think that's a very good development, so that we actually cushion, we promote what we can produce locally. So thank you very much, Director, for those opening remarks. And now, we now need to hear what exactly is in the report. But there are three things that maybe I'm aiming to hear in the report before you actually present. I want to hear the figures for milk per capita consumption for Zimbabwe compared to other countries. I also maybe look forward to hear the cost of producing a liter of milk in Zimbabwe. What is it compared to other countries? And lastly, I want to hear the farm price per liter of milk for Zimbabwe compared to other comparative countries. These are some of the major indicators in terms of competitiveness. With that, let me welcome Mr. Shayanewako, the Director of Competitiveness, maybe to give an overview and key findings and recommendations from the report. Thank you very much, Mr. Shayanewako.
Good morning, everybody. And thank you, moderator, Dr. Kaseke. Firstly, I just want to acknowledge the government through the Minister of Industry and Commerce, the Minister of Lands, Agriculture, Water, Fisheries and Rural Development, the dairy farmers, processors, BMOs, and DPs were also consulted when we developed this report. We'd like, as a commission, we'd like to thank you for the support. Without your insights, that it wasn't going to be possible for the commission to be able to develop this report. So I also want to ride on the protocols already established before me, so that I can just go straight to the presentation of the report. How do you? Okay. So this is the outline for the presentation. For those ones who don't know us, we'll just briefly say who is the commission, and also the mandate, and also we go dovetail straight into the report, and also try to look at what are the major findings of the report. And also, as a commission, our mandate is to look at the issues of competitiveness, the issues of costs, the issues of the regulatory environment. Is it impeding or supporting growth of the industry, especially for this? In this case, we are looking at the dairy sector, subsector, and what are the gaps in terms of competitiveness? What are the opportunities? How do we address? And we are doing looking at the issues of competitiveness. What is critical is the benchmarking. We need also to benchmark with other comparator countries within the region to see what can we learn from there, what can we tap, and also try to domesticate a customer so that we improve productivity and competitiveness of our sector. And we conclude also, we've got an implementation matrix on the recommendations which we are proposing, or the interventions which we are proposing. So the National Competitiveness Commission brief is just a commission which is under the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, and we've got a board which provide guidance, oversight to the operations of the commission, and we're established by an Act of Parliament, Chapter 1436. And our mandate is to facilitate the creation of competitive environment for the Zimbabwean business, and as a vision, a leading catalyst for improving Zimbabwe global competitiveness by 2030. Our mission is to provide evidence-based policy. Basically, when we say evidence-based, that means we need to consult and get the real issues on the ground. And based on those, that's supporting evidence. That's when you'll be able to develop policy interventions. And you also need to benchmark. So after that, we need also to provide, through our parent ministry, the policy advice and the recommendations for creating and maintaining an enabling business environment that enhances industry productivity and competitiveness for Zimbabwean goods and services in both the domestic market and also global markets. So I think as a country, we all need to know that the issue of globalization, we are no longer supporting industry through tariffs, because now the end game is competitiveness. It needs to be, the price, the product which you are producing, you have to be cost competitive and also quality competitive. So when the imports come in, we need to be defending in terms of competitiveness for those products which you are producing in this country. And also, we also need to penetrate other markets. All this through the same, the competitive issue comes in, the issues of cost, the issues of price, the issues of quality. So one of the critical functions for the Commission is to continuously monitor the issues of cost drivers which are impacting on competitiveness. We'll be unpacking that in this report, and also to advise on measures that enhance productivity, address current and emerging cost challenges. Those costs may be regulatory costs due to compliance costs, which we are forced to observe as an industry. And also, some of these are utility costs. So as a commission, this is, so for us to analyze this, in line with the NDS, we'll use the value chain approach. We find now that's when now the dairy sector becomes also critical, because it's one of the critical agro-processing value chain which was identified by the National Development Plan, the NDS1, which is coming to an end this year. So to date, we've done about 4 value chains. We're working with the sugar players, leather, fertilizer, and soybean. And this is our 5th value chain, which we are launching today. So the methodology, what we do is to assess what we did is the goals and targets and performance towards sustainable growth in line with NDS1 and vision. And also we try to identify productivity and competitivity gaps, challenges and opportunities. And also we benchmarked with the regional countries, looked at Zambia, South Africa, Uganda, Botswana, and Kenya. For international, we looked at some of the countries like Brazil, Belgium, Netherlands. So at the end, we provide evidence-based policy advice, intervention on identified gaps, so that we enhance productivity and competitiveness of this sector. So, as alluded before, dairy value chain is a prioritized agro-processing under NDS1. And I think my speakers who spoke before me highlighted that one of the critical issues, it contributes to food and nutrition security, and also employment creation, and basically to the development of the economy, economic development and growth. And we are aware that the agriculture is the backbone of this economy. Within that agriculture now, the dairy sector also provides livelihoods for the rural population, and also the consumption issues which were being raised, the capita milk consumption per capita. You find that if you observe the figures, currently we are working at 7. That's and before that, in the 90s, when the dairy sector was doing very well, when they were producing about 260 million liters per litre, we're at 25. This is against a target of 45, which is recommended by the WHO, World Health Organization. So, and we are looking at the globally also, it is a significant, I think, Mr. Mchairo, which is recommended by the WHO, World Health Organization. So, and we are looking at the globally also. So, one of the things also which, when we did our competitiveness summit in Blawa in February, one of the key call action which came there is we're encouraged by various stakeholders to undertake comprehensive study to ascertain the burden, appropriateness, and cost of regulations on business with a view to improving productivity and competitiveness. This is also in line. I just want to read what His Excellency said when he first, during the first cabinet meeting. Okay. Just a minute. In terms of these various costs, no, I can't find it. Okay, let me. Okay. Okay. So what the president said in terms of these various things called regulatory, to revisit all the areas of all investment, whether local or foreign. In addition, that business does not suffer from prohibitive regulations as well as punitive administrative license fees required by ministries, fees, license payments and regulations should promote economic development and improve livelihoods. So this is what His Excellency expected. And also under the ease of doing business agenda, these are some of these things which also we are paid in this with the view to support the call for by His Excellency. So what are the key findings now in this report? The overview. What we observed, there are various players. We've got smallholders, we've got medium scale farmers, commercial scale farmers, who are also providing a minimum of actually 200 liters per day. And also we are looking at the numbers about plus 1,500 medium farmers, 200, 500 liters per day, and we're looking at the number of a minimum 142. In the large scale, which are commercial, with the advanced nutrition management, we are looking at producing a minimum 500 liters per day, and we are looking at the number of 98 minimum. Then if you are looking at the global economic production trends, what you are observing that from 2015, you are seeing there is an upward trend in terms of globally the milk production. And this is also being reflected when we come back home now to Zim. We are looking also, we are on an upward trend. In 2021, we had 79.6 million liters. But in 2024, we had 115 million liters. This is against an NDS target of 130. So we still have a deficit of 15 million liters, which I'm convinced that they will be able to meet and also to surpass this. So if you are looking at now what we have produced in 2024 and against the national demand of 130, we are looking now there's a gap which is being addressed through imports. And we are getting the imports from raw milk, we are getting from Mozambique, South Africa, and India are getting powdered milk. So this provides an opportunity for the subsector that we need to close the gap and also surpass so that we are able to export at the end of the day. And also, if we close this gap, this means we are also closing the loss of foreign currency through imports, which is very important. I think so. And also, if you just look at the contribution by category, we are looking at the biggest, the large farmers. It's about 67.2 what they're contributing, 17.2. Small scale farmers 1.7, and then the imports 13.9%. That's in terms of contribution to the milk production in 2024. So going a step further, if we are looking now through value addition now, processing, we have got 6 processors, 14 small and medium processors, and also we've got various milk collection centers, especially for small-scale farmers. And the country has got 17 functional out of 35. That also provides an opportunity also. We need to go to resuscitate some of these through increased production. So in terms of the costs, I think the costs which the moderator was talking about. If you are looking at, when we are looking at this, the cost build up, one thing which you have noticed that for the farmer who are producing raw milk, which is a critical input to the processors, you find the issue of stock feed is the major cost. And also labor also comes in as another cost. And I think labor and also packaging. I think stock feed is number one, packaging number 2, and then we've got labor. Those are the major costs. So any intervention, how do you to deal with that going forward in those areas? And now, if you are looking at also the processors now, we are looking now because these costs now, the raw milk also now to the processors also it's a huge cost. If you manage to reduce the cost for the whole raw milk there, you also manage to reduce the cumulative cost up to the processors. So the starting point is to deal with the farming node, and also so now coming to specific now in terms of the findings in terms of competitive gaps. One of the things which you have noticed is the regulation. We have an act, the Dairy Act, but it's not reflecting what is currently the reality on the ground. We experienced the land reform program, and I think for us, as we were going through this, we also need that it needs to reflect, to be reviewed, and also to reflect what is currently on the ground. And also there's an issue now, the issues of permits also, various regulatory permits, which the various stakeholders within the value chain have to comply with for this. So you find we've got about 26 permits, and there's a cost implication on those permits from various government agencies. We've got AMA, VAT, and local authorities and so forth. And the unfortunate thing, these various regulatory authorities, various bodies, there's no communication. Those things. So the cost impact now in terms of production to the farmers and to the other value chain players within the sector, they are on the high side. And also, besides that, also the issue of the fees, the quantum, is something which you need to be looked at also. So one of the recommendations as a commission which we are recommending is that we need to review and amend the Act so that it recognizes the current reality within the value chain. And also, we need also for government or those particular regulatory authorities that when they are charging these particular fees, they also need to consider the size of these various players. We've got small, medium, and commercial. You need to differentiate so a tire system in terms of these fees will assist in the terms of production and also policy. And I think the issue of I feel this is something one of the players were raising this issue that a flat fee for affluent and solid waste, which is 800 years, which is they find is too prohibitive. In 29 of 27, I think we have dealt this with the livestock, with the dairy farmers and also with AMA. This requires the dairy processor to pay 1 cent per liter. The problem with this, from our point of view, it penalizes if you increase production, that you are attracting more in terms of the tax. You attract more, so it becomes a competitive issue now. That as you increase, at one end we are advocating to increase the production, but also the cost becomes also high in terms of the payment. So it's something also we looked at. So one of the recommendations which we also looked is that this has got an impact in terms of competitiveness and in terms of production. And also one thing which you all find, there is already another tax which is 5% dairy development levy. And this one is directly charged by government. So it's like there's now multiplicity of these various taxes from AMA, but no, we need to streamline these various these things. And this one is already charged on period. So it's the view that why not use this to support the dairy and then plow it back to support the industry. And also one of the things, the dairy subsector, from our observation as a commission and through it's a well-regulated, self-regulation, and there are already some association fees which they are already plowing back from the development of that subsector as players. There is that discipline which we noticed. So at the end of the day, there's some duplication there. There's no recognition of what the players are already doing on their own. So it's something which needs to be taken into consideration. Then one of the things now we recommend is that why not ring fence this dairy development levy and also plow it back through purchase of IFRS as well as research and development towards enhancing competitiveness of the sector. Then in terms of taxation, I think there is a state tax on beverages. But this one now, it has caused a 3% increase in the cost of raw materials. But what we are saying now, already in the country, if you are looking, say, for farmers now, in terms of raw material, the stock feed, the inputs already, the soybeans and so forth, we don't have enough for this. And we find most of the stock feed is being imported. And that there is now this tax now also on the raw materials. We are just recommending, say, why not, especially the state tax on that, why not it be the same also with the cordials and try to reduce it. And also we're advocating that for raw materials, just like the other raw materials, why not remove the tax on the imported raw materials. Then the other thing which we also found out that is that government reclassified milk product from zero rated to tax exempt. What this has done, this move, if you look at those countries now, the other countries, you find it's only Zimbabwe which is tax exempt. So this reclassification, what it has done is that the value chain players, they are not able to claim VAT that like before. So you find another countries, these players, they are able to reclaim VAT. So this has also created a financial burden to the various value chain players within their sector. So our recommendation is that let's benchmark with the region and also just the reverse, and also so that these they will be able to reclaim VAT, and which will also assist in their cash flows and reinvent. I think the issue of stock feed, I've also discussed about it. It's almost 70% of the production cost for the farmers. And what we are saying, this one also, we are recommending that research and development, and so that farmers, they need to prioritize in R&D for innovative on-farm production of feed with high protein content. So we, in other words, are recommending that farmers try to also try to plow this so that they can have their own stock, their own stock feed on farm. And also, in the interim already, they are importing. Why not through their associations? You do pooled procurement. You are able to buy things with the economies of scale. You are able to purchase these raw materials cheaply than purchasing. The issues of power, the issues of infrastructure, the issues of the issues of water and so forth. Those are some of the issues which need. Comparing now that if you look at the costs now, the producer price for milk, you find in Zimbabwe it's on the high side. I think it's coming on those various regulatory compliance issues and also the issues of labor, power and so forth also contribute to this. But also you find now, if you look at the retail price, say of raw milk, you find we are high, but the other countries, they're trying to catch up But what that demonstrates is the conversion process. There is an issue with the conversion, but there's an opportunity also to look at it so that we can also lower the price and also be competitive. So if you are looking at power specifically, you find what it is happening is the power is in two parts, is the availability and the cost. The availability leading to, we have got challenges on load shedding. The available is intermittent. So when it's available, it's an also need, this sector also need, and you find in the other countries, it's on the lower. Also, the issue of loan tenure becomes also a challenge. You need to, the viability also becomes a challenge. So we need these loan tenures to be primarily customized to the requirements of the debt farm. So you need the financial institutions to understand the sector, and also they develop a product for that particular sector, not to just generalize these requirements. So it's something which you are looking at. You need to develop a product which suit the requirements of the various players. So the tenure is a big issue. Before you even received the fruits of your production, you are already required to service the loan. This is also, it becomes an NPL, non-performing loan from the onset. But also, we are a dual, we are using two currencies, mostly USD and ZIG. In USD, it's a minimum of 15%. That's very expensive on a USD loan. And also the issue of tenure also becomes a problem. Transport, and it's also on the high side. And the issues of, there is need collaborative approach, government, farmers, processors, financial institutions, and research bodies. They are very key to enhance, to support the dairy farmers and the farmers, the dairy value chain players, so that we enhance productivity of the subsector, so that we achieve the objectives of NDS1. And also from a policy alignment, also is something which we need our policy makers also to develop policies which also support the industry. I know that they are, and also trying to streamline some of the various requirements, fees. Are they still applicable? We need to apply the regulatory impact assessment, the cost-benefit analysis of a particular. Is this some of these regulations, some of these requirements, they are old? Are they still necessary now? Are they still serving a purpose at the moment? So you need to subject some of these things to the regulatory impact assessment, the cost-benefit analysis. And on this issue, I'm happy to advise colleagues in the House that the NCC, in collaboration with NECF and the Confederation of Zimbabwe Industry, will be having a real dialogue at the Crystal Lodge on Thursday to bring awareness to the policymakers, to the regulatory authorities on the issue of the regulatory impact assessment, which is critical, especially in our economy, which is considered more regulated by the business players, by investors. And also, from what I've read, the call of the president, this is something which government is seized with at the moment. And as industry, we need to take to harness the opportunity so that the voice is heard in these issues. But as a commission, we are already seized with this issue, and we are on top of it in line with our parent ministry. The issue of research and development is also critical. We need to also move with time so that we streamline some of these costs on the various players. We need to be seen to be the issues of quality also. They are very critical, and so these are some of the findings which we have in the report. And also in the report, what we have also done, we have put an annexure of these various
observations, the findings. We've put an implementation matrix. So done. We have put an annexure of these various observations, the findings. We've put an implementation matrix so that allows us to follow progress on these various issues, together with yourselves, the value chain players, the policymakers, so that at the end of the day, we'll need to see where are we good to come. We launch the report here, then it's in the shelf. We need to see every year taking stock, continuously meeting, so that we follow up what are the emerging issues, and tailor-made support for dairy innovators and smallholders. And from the academia, we also need the academia to work closely with the dairy sector for successful implementation of programs such as the artificial insemination, which was also highlighted in the report. And also from consumers, we are all consumers at the end of the day. We also, in support of the Buy Zimbabwe campaign, we also want to urge consumers to buy local products, so that, of course, they have to also meet the terms of quality in terms of price if we address these things. With these few words, colleagues, thank you for your time. I submit.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shanewako. Let's give him another round of applause again. All right. I think some of my questions have been answered, and I still have some more. Maybe you discuss these during the open discussion session. But from the look of things and from the figures that I've been seeing, I want to commend the ZDIT for the work that they've done, especially for small-scale producers. Our number for small-scale producers was on the lower side, and even the number of cows that they were having, they were on this lower side. But now, if you go to Chipinge, quite a number of Manika land, they've increased. But the problem that is there is the testing of the milk at the milk center, where farmers, those small-scale farmers, will bring their milk together. I think we need to start improving in terms of testing at the farm, so that the other milk will not contaminate the other farmer producers. So maybe that's what I've observed as I was also doing an evaluation of one of your programs previously. We have observed that as a but thank you very much also for restarting some of these milk centers, the Tsonzo, the Fairfield, etc. I think we have seen that something productive is now going on in terms of those areas. But what is shocking me is ministry. 26 fees, 26 permits. I don't know whether that is true or not, but hey, I cannot see these farmers surviving. 26 fees, 26 permits. I think it's on the high side. We need to collaborate some of these fees, so that maybe it becomes more competitive on the side of the farmer, because component in terms of cost of production. Are we not farming? We are producing maize, soybeans, maybe we're importing a bit of soybeans, wheat, where we also get wheat bran, etc. Where is the problem? Because we cannot continue saying that we're importing, maybe if we are importing the premixes that we now need, and also some of these minerals, yes, but the bulk of the feed should be coming from our own local production. Then I don't know what the ministry and also the ZDIT is going to do. Some of these small-scale farmers have received heifers. They are doing well. Their production diagrams are actually going on. But some of these heifers came pregnant in Zimbabwe. I don't know. Have you now come up with a facility of artificial insemination for these cows now? Because they are about to dry, or even some of them, they've already dried. What are we doing so that these farmers can continue producing? Because this is also a major, especially for the small, because they cannot afford a bull. because of the numbers that they have. So let's hear some of these things in terms of maybe our panel of discussion. But lastly, but not least, I've heard that the target is about 45 liters, which means we are supposed to be producing now about 246 million liters per year, and we are at 115, isn't it? Which means we still have a very wider gap for us to go there, and a lot of programs also have to be done in terms of trying to meet maybe these 246 million liters per day. And let me also conclude by now saying that the issue to do with the cost of distribution. This to do with cost of distribution, more specifically, our price per liter of fuel. It's actually prohibiting quite a number of things. And this is also making, if you now compare South Africa, it's 40 cents per liter from the figure that have shown us. Zimbabwe is 67 cents per liter. Is more like the farm price. So that even if I go and smuggle my milk from South Africa, and even if you charge 15% duty, I would still make profit in Zimbabwe, even bring it formally. And this is actually deterring in terms of those who are producing locally. So for the time being, ladies and gentlemen, let's take our tea break according to the program that we have. And like what I've said, please, for those who are not here at the beginning, if you use this door to my immediate left, there are also ablution facilities out there. And if you want to go the long way, you also use that door to my right, and you also see the signs of the ablution facilities down the corridor. Thank you very much. But to those whom I have given questions, please don't run away. I still want to have my answers back after the tea break. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's take our seats. Let's take our seats for the sake of time. For those who are still outside, for those who still want to have another cup of tea, let's grab our cup of tea and come and take our seats. All right, while we are taking our seats, I want to applaud some of the actors in the dairy sector. The processors, they are doing a very good job. They are actually taking the milk from small-scale farmers from these milk centers and process the milk for nationwide distribution. They are doing a great job. And they are the same people who are actually making these small-scale farmers exist in terms of their area. And like what I've already previously said, that thank you very much, our partners in the NGO sector, for making some of the milk centers functional. Let's do it in the national, because in other provinces, in other areas, these milk centers are non-functional. We need to actually boost the provincial GDPs in different water centers. The Ministry of Lands Agriculture, I think you are also here. Let's try to facilitate, because what I've observed in Africa is that sometimes people can produce, but they don't have the market where to sell their products. And at the end, they will not produce. So let's create these markets where they can sell their products first and then make them what produce, because there will be a market available. While I'm just maybe making those recommendations, let me call upon these people, or a representative from these people, a representative from Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers, Stockfields Manufacturing Association. Please, let's take these seats, either to my left or to my right. Someone from Dairy Processors Association of Zimbabwe, somebody from Retailers Association of Zimbabwe, someone from Agriculture Marketing Authority, someone from Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, someone from Ministry of Industry and Commerce, and lastly, someone from Ministry of Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion. Let's take our seats. Representatives from these associations, from these authorities, let's take our seats. Representatives from these authorities, from these ministries. Okay? Maybe we still have one more missing. Are we well represented? Zimbabwe Dairy Association. Zimbabwe Dairy Association.
Is it 25, sometimes 30 to 30 kgs per day? Now, to make that feed, there are two players. There's what the farmer is making on the dairy farm, then there is what the farmer will buy from the purchased component of the nutrition that is required by the dairy animal. To NCC, that in their report, look into mechanisms of increasing, improving efficiency in the production of locally produced stock feeds. That way we'll be able, with no doubt, to produce milk at between improving efficiency in the production of locally produced stock feeds. That way we'll be able, with no doubt, to produce milk at between the initiative. So I think what your observation is very accurate, but give us a year, I'm sure we'll be seeing more, right, production on farm because of the fodder and feed initiative in the Ministry of Agriculture and by stakeholders from the dairy industry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much in terms of that aspect. Now, whilst we are still in production, I want to first recommend what our partners are doing. They've also brought in what we call the matching concept. If you want to get into dairy production, you have one, we give you one. So that you take care of all the animals that we are giving you, and you are able now to produce. From somebody from Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers, the lower production, is it because of a lower number of animals that we have? And what has been the benefit of having these initiatives that are being done by partners in terms of milk production?
Thank you very much. Let me also write on the protocols already been mentioned. In terms of production, especially at our small-scale farmers, it's only the issue to do with numbers at the moment, but actually production per animal, some of them might be on the better side than even the medium-scale farmers. However, there are other things that we are not mentioning, especially in terms of feed costs, which includes the cost of fertilizer. That also, that includes the cost of fertilizer, which also becomes quite expensive. Even the inputs, the initial inputs, even like the seeds itself, even the seeds of fodder, the lucerne. And we are also not even talking about even the land size. If you are going for pastures, you can't grow just on a hectare to feed maybe 600 animals or 30 animals. So we also need to look into it holistically and say, if we're going for pastures, what do we want? Water, how available is it? If we're going to pastures, the initial cost, irrigation, are we getting cheap funds to establish irrigated pastures? That also comes in. So it's quite a holistic approach that is needed to look into these things. Sometimes we just like maybe mention it the way we do it, like we say benchmarking. Like the feed companies were just saying the production of maize per ton in Zambia is much cheaper than here in Zimbabwe. But sometimes when we are just then talking of the price, we just go straight to the price of milk at farm level in Zimbabwe, which is 67 cents, without even looking at those other parity issues which we are saying are also impacting on a dairy farm in Zim. Like you've just seen that we don't just do animals, we also do crops. So we are dual. We do crops to feed the animals, and we do the animals to produce the milk.
Okay, thank you very much. You talked about the issue to do with the size, etc. But I've been to Lesotho, Chipinge. Those small-scale farmers, they're actually doing very their own lucerne, on very small on their gardens that they are using to produce it. And they are feeding the animals without problem. Why not actually inculcate that culture in terms of some of these dairy farmers that we now need to have these smaller, greener pastures that we can cut every day for us to actually increase the production of milk?
Thank you very much for that. We also need to look at the aspect of the ecological regions. Chipinge is evergreen. We cannot compare it with the people down in Bulawayo. So we need to be very holistic, as I've just mentioned, to say, yes, for smaller animals, for small number of animals in Chipinge on a small plot, they can do much better. But now when we are talking in terms of numbers, in terms of efficiencies, then we need now to expand.
All right, thank you very much for maybe giving a response in terms of that. Now, we want to hear, we have heard that almost 26 permits are required. Minister of Agriculture, tell us, where is the problem? Minister of Agriculture, tell us where is the problem to have 26, or even AMA, you are not excluded, because AMA, you are also responsible. Tell us. Both? Yes.
Okay, thank you. All protocols observed. I think I will not give an umbrella response to cater for the other permits that are not administered through the Agricultural Marketing Authority. But from our part, I think the permit that is supposed to have been related to the farmers, I don't think we don't have that at AMA for the dairy farmers. What we administer is the SI 129 of 2017, which is the livestock development levy. And in this regard, in this dairy sector, that is the 1 cent per liter that is charged from the processors, not from the farmers. But I think I should also reiterate that we have had concerns from industry, and I think it's on record that we have engaged NCC. We have also engaged Dr. Manotsanango Arpanaba to see how can we present their concerns to the ministry, and I think we've done that from our side, and I think deliberations are on course to see if there are possibilities of reviewing that SI. Thank you.
Ama, everything has been left to you. Tell us.
Okay, thank you. Looking from our side, ministry or for veterinary sites, in terms of the registration for dairy, I think we don't have much licensing, or which we have. I think it's just the registration license which they have for the farm side, for the processing side. And I think we have tried to incorporate, I think what was mentioned earlier, the tire system. I think it was during the presentation. What we have done is the license for each category of farmers or processor, it's based according to production. So there is, according to animal numbers which you are milking, registration will be calculated according to that. And when you go to processing, it's also according to the amount of milk that you are getting, your intake, your monthly intake. So we have tried to cater for the different categories within the sector. And I'm sure it's the other license from the other sectors, ministry. And also what we have done is, with our licensing or fees which we are collecting, we've tried to put a value for those, for the service, or to provide a service for or value for the fees which they are paying in terms of extension services, or in terms of regulatory or advisory services, as well as in terms of monitoring the quality of the produce which is being produced at both farm and factory level, so that the operators are able to compete to trade locally and also regionally.
Direct.
Thank you.
They are trying to run away from saying which permit it is. Tell us, which are the forms of the permits that have been said?
As I mentioned earlier when I was presenting, that DVS is there to facilitate trade. All the permits which we enforce, you find out that they are there to ensure that the product is safe. Because as I said, we are there to control zoonotic and diseases of economic importance. So when you test your head and register, we'll be looking at those diseases, the zoonotic disease, which is mainly CA, conditions of abortion or brucellosis. We want to make sure that the Zimbabwean nation, the population is safe. And when it comes to producers, when you check your milk, we actually benchmark our tests and permits from international standards. We don't create our own standards in Zimbabwe to ensure the safety of the milk, the safety of all products, the safety of that animal itself. So we ask for money as a revolving thing for us to be able to do that. We don't charge something without doing anything, like what I see other permits. We do some work towards safety and quality, then we ask for cost recovery payment to ensure that we continue doing that. So that's our job, and it's actually our mandate to ensure that your health is safe and the health of the animal is safe. Thank you. Okay,
thank you very much. So where are these coming from? Maybe Minister of Industry? Are you the one who is posing some of these? Maybe before I go to that, Dairy Processors Association of Zimbabwe, can you tell us maybe the forms of permits that you are also facing? We've heard for the farmers, for registering animals. Let's hear from Dairy Processors Association. Anyone representing them? No, it will be, don't worry.
Yes, all protocols observed. First of all, I would like to start with a permit which is from our Ministry of Agriculture, Lands and Water Resources. There is what is called Upper Manyame Sub Aqua Council. It is charging $1 per cubic meter of the water that we are extracting from boreholes. I've heard a recommendation from NCC talking about us drilling boreholes to reduce the cost of water. But there's no reduction of cost of water because that water which we are extracting using our electricity is being charged at $1 per cubic meter of raw water. Because the water that we use in the factories, we further process it and you only get 70% of that water. That's one of the examples of such ridiculous charges that we are getting, increasing our costs of production. And also, as well talk of other taxes which are not in other SADC regions, like the tax-exempt regime that we have moved in the 2024 budget pronouncement. For example, our liquid milks, UHT cultured milks, they are now in the tax-exempt VAT status, not zero rated as they were. That on its own has increased the cost of production by 5 to 8 cents per liter. And we also have permits when we are importing inputs which are not produced in Zim. There are AMA permits that we pay. There are other permits which we pay at different departments within the Ministry of Agriculture. So yes, we are heavily taxed and that is affecting our competitiveness. We can't even think of exporting our products because they land in the export markets much more expensive than the products in that market. Thank you.
All right, maybe we can have a response from Minister of Industry and Commerce or Minister of Finance. Maybe let's have a response there about these different forms of what taxes. So maybe before that response comes in, we are live on NCC Facebook and also on Zoom. So we might be getting questions from other listeners, other participants, and we'll also be maybe saying out the questions and we'll be requesting answers from these. The panelists, yes. What I want to understand, appreciate, which are these forms of taxes or permits and where are they coming from?
Good morning, MC, all protocols observed. I'm from the Ministry of Finance and I wish to react to the issues of taxes that has been brought on the table. And on permits, I may not respond because the ministry does not impose any permits. But in terms of VAT, he talked about moving from the zero rating status to exempt status. We may need to appreciate all the affected raw materials, but especially maybe from the farmers or the concerned parties. But what I'm aware, because there was an issue of stock feed that was raised as a major input into raw milk production, and as far as I'm concerned, from the ministries, that stock feeds are also VAT exempt. So even if you trace back in a value chain analysis, you would see that if the other input is also VAT exempt, then there should not be a substantial impact on the ultimate price of the raw milk final output. So we may need to engage further and see where the 5 cents, additional 5 cents that is being alluded to, where is it stemming from? I think that is my response as of now. Thank you very much.
The other sister ministry, yes?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Facilitator. I think from the issues that have been raised, if I may have missed something, I did not see something that is directly under Minister of Industry. But what I can say, what we used to, under the import management system, was the import license, which was primarily for protecting our local processors in terms of their final products. That's when we had to regulate importation of final products, mainly in the dairy sector and other sectors across the economy, as the need may arise. So if there's anything specific, I'll be very comfortable to respond to that. Thank you.
Dr. Man is eyeing to say something.
Well, the advantage of not coming from my government department is that you are free to speak freely. So, I mean, this is not the totality of representation.
Sorry, Mr. Man. Anyone from EMA? Do we have anyone from EMA? Because there was the 800 disposal fee. We want to hear about it. Do you have anyone from EMA, please?
No, thank you.
All right.
Right, yes. So that's one of the examples. But under EMA, it's not just the 800. I think for processors, you have your broiler, your boiler, licensing, inspection fees, that all add up to the 26. And just recently, is it Marondera District Council was also trying to levy another levy on the milk itself from farmers being produced. We see this all the time on the livestock value chain. Every RDC is a whole slot of levies and taxes that have been well documented. I'm sure NCC, you saw the World Bank study that was submitted to government, OPC, and Minister of Finance. I think the documentation is there. Minister of Agriculture knows. And I think we are looking forward to the resolution, translating His Excellency's recommendation to slash regulatory cost of compliance in the dairy sector, in the feed sector, in the beef sector by 50% or 100%. I think that will be a big impetus on production, on stimulating growth. We need growth. I just want to say one more thing before I give up. We do need growth. We do need our fiscal authorities to be well funded, our budgets well funded in agriculture. The research we talk about that is needed, the extension we need to increase productivity, the food safety issues needs to be funded directly from the fiscus. It's more efficient that way. We would rather that we pay the fiscus levies, including VAT, than have all this multiplicity of entities raiding the livestock value chains like dairy in order to generate revenue to sustain themselves. Literally not to offer any service, just to sustain themselves as the entities, regulatory entities. I think that's the big issue. It is affecting competitiveness. We will die after if we do not address this issue. Thank you.
All right. Actually, I've opened another thing that I wanted to ask, that Zimbabwe, we are now a member of AFCA, isn't it? What do you think would happen, Zimbabwe Trade Association of Zimbabwe? What do you think would happen now? Because you are now a member of that. And if milk is going to come from South Africa to Zimbabwe, it means that it is the price in South Africa is about what, $116, $16, isn't it? Equivalent. What I've seen is about $16. For us, it's about $50 per liter, the equivalent, isn't it? What do you think would happen to our production? Maybe from you, from the selling side. What do you think would happen?
Thank you, Director of Ceremonies. All protocols observed. So, in our opinion, as the Confederation of Zimbabwe Retailers, we think that the launch of this report is actually coming at a critical juncture in the economic development of our nation as well as the region in general. In the discourses of economic development, we are talking about NDS2 and the African Continental Free Trade Area. And like the states highlighted from the previous presentation, regionally, South Africa and I think Kenya are the biggest producers of milk annually, with South Africa over 3 billion liters per year, and Kenya I think is over 800 million. And as Zimbabwe, as we saw from the stats, we are in a way struggling to meet even our domestic demands. So this is an issue that we believe that has to be addressed, and this report is actually critical to give us that data-driven policy-making initiative. So this is important for us to develop policies that have to contribute towards our competitiveness regionally. And I'm glad that we have been discussing around the development of rural industrial hubs. Last year, we were consulted on the development of a draft economic empowerment bill. And I think we have to look around those models and how we can develop the dairy value chain and around these rural industrial hubs. So this will be critical if we are to improve our competitiveness, particularly regionally. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Even though, all right. I want to come back to you, Dairy Processors Association of Zimbabwe. The cost of milk at Farmgate, how is it impacting your processing?
Thank you, Director of Ceremony. At 67 cents per liter, we are buying the most expensive milk in the region, if not in the world. So it implies that even the after value addition, and if we take the smallest margin possible, the prices of our products are very expensive. And at the end of the day, the dairy products have become a luxury, which is not reachable to many. That's why we are talking of the national milk demand at 130 million liters, which is far below our potential as a country. Why? Because the products that we are producing with a high price, Farmgate, they are not reachable to the generality. And yet, if we look at milk, milk is a complete protein. It contains all the essential amino acids which are essential for people to grow. And if we look at statistics, school-going children should be taking at least 2.5 to 3 cups per day, equivalent to an average of 400 milliliters per day for school-going children. So our demand for the 3.6 million school-going children that we have in Zimbabwe is almost 500 million liters per annum before we even talk of the other generality. So we have a very good market for our milk, and we have the potential to grow. So what is needed is a coordinated approach, and I'm so glad that we have started with this NCC report, which is going to be sort of showing the framework from which we are going to launch our growth from. Thank you.
Thank you very much for bringing those insights. But my main worry is, you talk of 400 milliliters per day per school-going child, isn't it? All is whatever we are producing. Actually, if you convert that, it's a teaspoon per day that we are having. If we are using per capita figure per day, it's a teaspoon. So is that feasible and achievable? I don't know. But we should be aiming to produce that type of milk. Anyone from transport, milk transportation? We have realized that one of the major elements or one of the major costs again, maybe I will take it to processors again, is this to do with transport cost. How are you dealing with that? Because one of the major components is fuel. And the poor road networks that we have in terms of the farms.
Maybe I can yes, refuse. Okay. So I can talk. Okay. If you look at the number of processing centers in Zimbabwe, we used to have in every main town, we used to have a factory that was producing milk. But some of those processing centers have been mothballed for a reason. You need to, when you are producing milk, to achieve a certain economies of scale for you to light up a boiler and produce viably and sustainably. That's why we have seen that it is better to cut milk from all over the country and to move them to fewer centers where we process the milk. It's more economically viable that way. If you compare with the region, for example, for South Africa, we have got friends in Mpumalanga, for example, who are taking milk from the Eastern Cape, some 1,200 kilometers away, 2,400 round trip, but they are still producing viably. So the cost of transportation, if you are cutting the milk using viable loads or economic loads, at the end of the day, it's cheaper than having many processing units that will not give you economies of scale, and you produce at much more diseconomies of scale, and you produce more expensively.
Okay, while you are still there, I know dairy board in the past, they now used to say that the distribution truck from Harare maybe drops something in Kadoma and picks something, go to Blawayo, drop something and pick something, and whenever they do the round trip, where is that? What caused the death of that facility that was there?
I'm sure we are talking of a period where we were producing 260 million liters of milk per annum. And now, with those 46 producers scrambling for 115 million liters of milk, the input, which is the milk base, is now smaller. And the good thing is that, the positive thing is that we are growing as a nation. If you look back at 2009, where we produced 37 million liters as a nation, and now at 115 million liters, as Zimbabwe, we are not doing bad. We are moving in the right direction, and we need to copy from dairy producing models like India, for example, in East Africa, where they've also taken a two-pronged approach where even the small-scale farmers are now contributing quite a lot in the milk production. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I want to open this. Maybe we may have other people who have got eyeing questions from the floor. But maybe before we have got that response, let's give it to the mic to the director to respond, maybe, or to add some light.
Thank you, events director. I was in one workshop where the farmers were encouraged that every farm product should not move more than 50 kilometers for processing. If it moves more than 50 kilometers, then as we are saying, it might, or maximum 100 kilometers, if it is an agricultural product, which can actually go wrong, which can go bad. So I think the same principle should apply to animal products as well. You remember when I presented, we said animals are moving from one point to another. Some of those movements are actually manifested because of the abattoir. Whereas the abattoir, which gives more revenue. If you go to Matabele South, Mashingo, Matabele North, they don't get per kg, and I don't know, Dr. Man, maybe you know the kgs. But per kg, the meat will be lower in those areas as compared to Harare. So they are forced to move those animals some 300, 400 kilometers at night. And
sorry, Darren, but that's where my argument is. Harare were a consuming town. Why not move the meat to Harare rather than moving the animals?
Yeah,
that was my argument in the morning.
So what I want to say is we are encouraging as government now to do what we call the commodity-based trade. You trade where the product is. So if your dairy cow is in Midlands, you should have processing plants in Midlands so that we limit the movement of that product. Because FMD can be spread by milk. In most products, that's why we ban those products. The same applies to meat, the same applies to... So if we can move towards that we decentralize these processing plants, then we reduce movement. And that is encouraged under the commodity-based trade. That we just put the conditions, those things which are saying permits, which we come there and inspect and give a permit. We can do that. A processing plant in Manicaland, in Bedbridge there, and you process your plants there. Then it comes to Harare already, as you are saying, as already meat, which is kept in good conditions, safe, it can come to Harare. We want to liberate that.
Okay, thank you very much. I've asked so many questions. Let's have questions or compliments from the floor or anyone else who have got a burning question. Yes. One. Let's take three. 1, 2, and 3. Then we have got another round of questions again. Yes. You may start. Sorry.
Oh, I may start. Okay, thank you very much. My name is Alois Burutsa from Bai, Zimbabwe. Thank you so much to NCC for this report, and also just to thank the entire dairy value chain. I think the figures that were presented up there are very impressive in terms of the growth that we are seeing. I remember a time when you would walk into your Pick and Pay or OK, and you would find only imported milk, Makaton there. So, and that was very sad. But now you don't see any imported milk. So that's a brilliant achievement by the sector. My worry, though, is if you look at the growth that we've witnessed in the milk output in this value chain, it does not seem to be matched. And even in the report that was presented by Mr. Shayanewako, we are not talking about seeing a similar growth in terms of our local value chains. In other words, I heard the director mentioning vaccines being imported, I think, from Botswana, if I'm not mistaken. Why are we not buying vaccines here in Zimbabwe? Wana Complex Animal Health and all those companies, don't they have those vaccines here? That's number one. Number two, we're importing, if I heard correctly, even the stock feed. And yet we are having quite a number of stock feed companies. Yes, obviously, as Dr. Mano eloquently explained, some of these stock feeds, our stock feeds in Zim, the price is a bit high, and also because the raw material side is not adequate enough. But I think there is a need for us to have a deliberate effort to then stop importing some of these things, because our gain that we are making in terms of reducing our imports of milk, we are losing them by importing things like stock feeds. And I don't know, maybe I can pose a question to Muchairo from Dairy Board there. I don't remember hearing my dairy processors going down the value chain, like for instance, contract farming in terms of maybe soya, assisting my farmers in terms of for stock feed, so that ultimately we then get it cheaper and we get it locally. Are you guys having such plans in your businesses? Then lastly, I think the NCC is doing a tremendous job, a brilliant job in terms of bringing up these reports, and government did a brilliant, came up with a very good thing of coming up with the NCC. My worry though is that what these guys are bringing forward, I don't see it being implemented as quickly as we would want it to be implemented. For instance, you mentioned when you presented there, you've already done reports on the sugar value chain, you've already done reports on the fertilizer value chain, but to this day we still have issues of sugar. Only last week, we were sitting at the ministry discussing sugar. We are still having those problems, the fertilizer and so forth. And we need to have a situation whereby no local authority can just come up with a tax or a permit to say, we want this permit. Just because they should approach the NCC to say, can we put this in place? And the NCC should be the one to say, no, you can't, because this will affect the competitiveness of our local products. So my plea is that my report say NCC should be taken seriously, and more importantly, what NCC is recommending should be implemented so that we move as an economy. Thank you.
Okay, let's have another. Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Everett. I run the Milk Supply Development Unit at Dairy Board. I just have some questions concerning the permits, etc., etc. Our director from DVS there, he explained, where the money for the permits and everything was used. I deal quite a bit with dairy services, etc. So I think the fees that are paid there are actually put to good use for our dairy farmers most of the time. I have a question for the AMA representative. 1 cent per litre, that's $1.1 million per year. What does AMA do with that money for the dairy industry? I have seen no evidence of anything that AMA does for dairy industry. So please enlighten me. That's question number one. I'll get to the other question when I remember. But if I can get a reply from the AMA representative, thanks.
All right, let's have a third one. Yes? Okay, we'll come to you. Let's have yes. Yes, madam.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. MC, for the floor. I need clarity on the model of processing or adding value within the vicinity of the source. In the case of the dairy industry, processing milk from where the milk has been produced in the 50, 100 meter radii. Does that mean that the processor has to then set up infrastructure in that vicinity?
Okay, thank you very much, madam. Any taker from the panel? We are coming for the second round. Please keep your questions. Let's save these three contributions. Any taker? Yes, Dr. Manuel wants to take.
Thank you. The questions directed to do with contract farming, reducing cost of local production. Contract farming is already live. A number of stock feed companies here present are already involved in maize production and in soya production under contract farming. And the rest are effectively participating under ZMX. They are the demand side of all the soya, all the maize produced in Zimbabwe. So we encourage all our farmers to really participate and look at the demand. The stock feed industry is approaching 1 million metric tons of stock feeds locally produced. To correction, we do not import stock feeds. We produce all our stock feeds in Zimbabwe. We only import raw materials to complement or supplement what we don't have at home. Just clarity. So it's almost a 950,000 metric ton business at $600 per metric ton. So you can do the maths. That's our contribution to our gross GDP from agri, just through stock feeds. The other issue I wanted to just, while I have the mic, is that our statistics, Chief Director, on milk production are not accurate. I think if we compare them now, as we have done under NCC, with Uganda and other countries, we're missing up a big component. We have about 800,000 small-scale communal cattle owners who own bulk of the 5.2 million, out of which 2.25 million are female cattle called cows, right? And they all have the capacity, the adults, to produce milk. And we grew up drinking that milk, and we documented that milk. So the capacity to produce more milk, the milk we are not counting today, just like with what we've done with our national GDP statistics, we're missing out on what milk is being produced in the villages. Number one. Number two, we're also missing out on the capacity to capitalize those small-scale communal milk cattle farmers to have village dairy that produce milk there for consumption there, pasteurized there for distribution to local schools and local kindergartens. That's what Uganda did. Nothing miraculous. You look at the average yield, there's nothing really. We're doing better than that. So we are missing on that. If we incorporate that, I believe we are between 10 and 12 kgs per person per capita, just like anyone else. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe to complement that on is to do with the contract farming. I know Dairy Board of Zimbabwe have been giving some of these dairy farmers some waivers to produce more milk. And again, if you go to Chipinge, there's also a contract that is there. The small-scale farmers, they supply milk, and they're also given some of these stock feeds. And they now have what we call direct deduction in terms of that. So you now realize that some of these processors are also trying to do contract farming with some of these farmers and producers. I just want to compliment what Dr. Mane have said in terms of contract. There's something that is already in place that is happening in terms of that. Or they want to respond. Yes. Respond, please. Give him a mic. Director, sorry, I want to hear from these people first. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Maybe currently we can say there's not much of those activities that we are talking about. And also we need also to correct that narrative to say we are not being given. They are facilitating. We are working together. So sometimes when it's just being spoken, they just say, farmers are being given. Farmers are a major contributor into this. So we are partnering, we are working together, the government, the processors in the value chain. But however, there are other issues that we also need to look into, especially in terms of our, maybe you picked some of them in terms of transparency, in the testing of milk in line with the parity, with the after. And those are some of the issues that maybe we should be zeroing in on them to say, what are we saying in terms of parity, in terms of milk testing? Are we like South Africa? Are we like Zambia? What are we saying in terms of parity, in terms of these levies? Are we like South Africa? What is happening in South Africa? So those things then we should speak to us to say, then can we honestly say our milk is expensive or at farm level or it's competitive? Because it's not just something that is coming out from somewhere to say milk is at 0.67 cents. We need to look holistically or realistically into those factors to then finally conclude to say, Zimbabwe milk is expensive. Then what should we do then to reduce it altogether in the value chain? Because sometimes at the end of the day, from the discussions that we normally do, the finger is pointed at the farmer. Say, the farmer is not doing this, the farmer is not doing it. Therefore, on information, we've been doing a lot of activities, including our own farm mixes, even this growing of silage, even new grasses. We are trying to be reducing those costs, even into breeding. We are just getting into breeding to breed for the right animals. Even the frames we are reducing. The bigger animal to come to a small animal that we can afford. We are also very much aware of the climate change, which is also affecting these animals. So we are doing a lot, but however, we still have those challenges that we are saying we need them maybe to be addressed, which also includes pricing. You know what, as dairy farmers, we are kind of like price takers. From the inputs, and even also from the outputs. We can't say anything to the feed company. They will just detect the price. We can't even say anything now to the buyer who is the processor. He will just say, I'm taking it 30 cents. I need these parameters. So that also speaks to our Dairy Act, which is not giving us a clear definition of milk, of proper milk. So that also distorts the whole value chain to say, this processor wants these parameters, this one wants these parameters, and we are trying to catch up with those parameters. But they are also not producing the high-valued products to match those qualities so that they can pay us fairly. So there's a lot which we need to discuss openly and say, what is actually happening in the value chain? So we are encouraging our processors to also go into the high-value products, cheeses, butters, so that they can pay for that 67 cents. If they don't produce that, they will say this thing is expensive.
Okay, thank you very much. But let me hasten to say this from economics point of view, my friend. It's very simple. If you're a producer, you're a price taker. And then if you're a price taker, you know the consequences. But if you're a manufacturer, you're a price what to set, because you can determine the price of what the product that you want to sell it. So maybe that's the reason why our farmers are also crying because of that. But let's leave that for another day. Let's have the other questions from other. And so there's an AMA question. Is it 1 cent per liter? What are you doing with the money?
Okay, thank you. Let me give my response. If I had the money, I would have shown you what we are doing with it. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to collect this money, and this has led to the impasse that we then engaged NCC and LMAC to translate those concerns to the parent ministry. We don't have that money as it were. Thank you.
So you are telling me that this cost is being expensed or this tax is being charged, but you are not having it? Okay, let's have other questions.
Sorry, clarification. The Honorable Minister suspended the implementation of the SI subject to consultations. And it's part of that package that the OPC and government are looking into. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Director, I want to give you a floor at the end, so don't worry. Take note of those. Let's have four more questions.
Hi, sorry, Everett from Dairy Board again. As we know, there is a 5% levy which is attached to any milk powders that are imported into the country for use in processing by the processors. This is basically, we were informed that 5% levy was to be ring-fenced and to be used by the dairy industry, be it Zadit or the basically the dairy industry. I attended a meeting in March of last year, and in March of last year, that figure was sitting at about $3.1 million that had been collected already. So by now, we're probably sitting closer to about $5 million. So my question is to the representative from Ministry of Finance there and to Ministry of Agriculture, where is that $5 million? Because that would go a very long way in basically assisting our farmers to be able to climate-proof their operations, increase or grow their businesses, etc., and increase the milk production in the country. So where is it?
Thank you very much. I think they are here. They will respond to those questions later. Yes, let's have other questions.
Thank you. My name is Gwanzura, and I'm the National Vice Chairman of Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers. My first question and comment is what Evet has just raised. We've now gone on 4 to 5 years on the dairy development funding. And as quantified, we're talking 4 or 5 million US dollars. On one hand, we're talking challenges in terms of funding and borrowing. And yet that money is sitting somewhere. It is not for lack of engagement. There's been various engagements at various levels. I think if we are serious about moving forward together as an industry, given what we're doing in AFTA, we need to have those funds made available so that farmers can mechanize, so that farmers can irrigate, and in so doing reduce costs. We need together to move beyond bureaucracy and be action-oriented so that we get results that will drive the economy in the direction that we said we want to see. That would be my first comment. The second one is to do with value chain, and we are participating in AFTA. I was at a conference in Kigali some 6 weeks ago. The giant in Africa in terms of milk production is the East African region. Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia. And you look at the volumes that they produce, you'll be shocked or pleasantly surprised. If, as Zimbabwe, we don't move and move now, at some point we'll be drinking East African milk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. My name is Dr. Stokos Lespanda, Director of Livestock Production and Development. Unfortunately, I missed the presentation of the value chain report. I hope it will be circulated for the benefit of those who didn't hear that presentation. But I'm hoping within that report, we have these the highlighted enablers of how best we can reduce the taxes, the VATs, the license fees, and all this regulatory environment to assist for the benefit of the farmer at the end of the day, and also to attain the competitiveness that we are talking about here. And also within that, I think we need also to be vigilant of the regional standards. I think it was mentioned, somebody did mention, that we need to be comparing ourselves with what the region is doing in terms of milk production. I know we are saying that our target for this year is 130 million liters, but I'm a bit concerned because right now at the end of second quarter, we are only sitting on 56 million liters. I don't know whether the industry is going to really catch up. I'm not quite sure. Last year we produced 115 million liters, and we are hoping this year we produce 130. And I'm also reliably informed that the Processors Association has got a capacity to process about 400 million liters, but I'm a bit concerned with the situation pertaining in Matabeleland region or the southern regions where producers are having challenges of processing milk, and having to transport it to northern regions. This is a perishable, and we are all aware of the cold chain requirements of the milk. And then maybe my last issue will be, how is ZADF assisting the small-scale farmers and the running of these milk collection centers in the various areas where they exist? Because I think that's where the potential maybe of increasing our production to the targets lies. I think I'll end there for now. Thank you very much, MC.
And that's the starting point of quality and standards control at the milk collection centers, madam. Yes, let's have the last question.
Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kundai Chandaengerwa. I am both a farmer in the Midlands and I'm also a medical doctor working at one of the government hospitals in the Midlands. So if you come to the hospital and you look in the pediatric ward, you will find that 50% to 2/3 of the patients admitted are children with malnutrition. And I think as Zimbabwe, we can address that via milk. The point that I'm trying to make is that milk is actually something that has to do with our health. It has to do with the health of the population. It also has to do with food security. It also has to do with the jobs. So my other comment is, if you look at what has happened, land reform started in earnest, it started in 2000. And now we are 25 years down the line. And before 2000, we were doing 250 million. And 25 years later, we are not yet able to get to half. That is not a good picture as far as I am concerned. I think we should be moving faster. So my point is, let's be serious about this industry. Let's try to protect this industry and let's try to grow this industry. Of the things that are being talked about, definitely if we join this free trade area and we are not careful, this industry will collapse in Zimbabwe. If you look at Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe has got 3 probably thriving industries that come to my mind: mining, tourism, and agriculture. And in agriculture, dairy farming is probably the fastest growing. So we need to protect this industry, ladies and gentlemen. And government, as far as policies are concerned, plays a significant role. And I want to challenge government today so that it does something to protect and grow this industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One of the simple ways of growing that industry is for us to have more cows, milking cows. That's one of the simplest way of growing that industry. So government and partners, can we have some more cows that we can milk? And then other things would come on. All right. Now, because of time, I'm sorry for those who are having burning questions, but you can still have those questions on the NCC platform, and they may be answered by NCC on another day, and also on other platforms or other conferences to come. But maybe before we leave this, please complete the evaluation forms that have been given. And now I want the director to respond to some of the things because he was itching to say something. Please, let's give him a microphone.
Thank you, Defense Director. I just wanted to respond to the vaccine issue. That why don't we produce our own vaccines? I think it's a good initiative. Yes, as government, we are in the process of making our own vaccines to substitute like an import substitution policy. We are already producing Newcastle vaccine for the birds. We are already producing 3 tick-borne disease vaccines: anaplasmosis, babesiosis, and January disease, which we call Bolvac. It's the government which is producing. We are also producing some autogenous vaccines, which we just, for dairy farmers, we just take the pathogen and formalize it and give it to the farmer. It will be specific for the farmer. So we are, as government, we are trying to produce some vaccines. And we are also we are in the process of collaborating with SEDC so that we produce more vaccines like anthrax vaccine together with SEDC. It's in the process to do that. Then the foot and mouth disease vaccine is not easy to produce. In Southern Africa, we do have Botswana only. South Africa under support tried to produce and it didn't go well. So they're not producing, they're also relying on BVI for foot and mouth disease. So it started as a SADC project, the Botswana one, thinking that all SADC countries would then have access to foot and mouth disease from Botswana. So we wait if SADC is going to, because they want to be in collaboration with some German company to try to produce foot and mouth disease vaccine. The point on the comment on the 50, 100 kilometer radius for the processing of agricultural products. This is a blunt statement for all agricultural products. It's a recommendation that even milk you can pasteurize there. You just make it more for it to stay longer, because it's a perishable material. So we would advise, if the industry is going to grow, that will be something like the ideal situation whereby the products, including milk, are processed within that radius. That will give us some benefits, I think. Yeah, on statistics, there was something on statistics from Dr. Mano. We are about to launch what we call the digitalized scorecard. We hope that digitalized scorecard will give us better sensors. I agree with Dr. Mano that even the sensors we are producing, the CLAFA documents, sometimes we think that maybe it's not very accurate. But if you use the digitalized card, we'll be able to record the milk from the
beef cows.
Yes.
Yes.
At the deep tank.
Okay.
We hope we'll be able to. I think.
How many cows are you milking at home? Two. Maybe each cow produces 2 liters per day.
Exactly.
We are able to complement and come up with the.
Yes, that information is in the digitalized scorecard. We hope we'll do better if we train our people already. Most of our people have got tablets already. If you check in the communal areas. So we want to digitalize that and we are going to get more accurate information. I think those are the only things which are need to respond.
And also to complement what Dr. Mann have said is that there is a lot of side marketing for some of these farmers which have also been financed by partners, etc. Yeah. Why? Because if they sell a liter to somebody as sour milk, they get $1. Yeah. If they sell to dead body, they get maybe 47 cents. So they end up also sometimes doing what side marketing and not also reporting the production that we expect. So maybe we need to start balancing the statistics. Sorry, I've been given 10 more minutes. For those who have got burning questions, please, let's hear them. I've been given 10 more minutes. Let's hear for those who have got burning questions. Yes, there's... But still, while they are moving with the money, there's the issue to do with the money. Where is the money? Where is the money? That question has not been answered. Where is the money?
Thank you, Dr. Kaseke, for allowing me the opportunity, and the 10 minutes is most welcome. Right. Mine is a comment and recommendations. I think first and foremost to thank NCC for producing a very excellent report. Very thought-provoking, well done. The stakeholders which we are looking at, I think we are talking about partnership at the end of the day, and we are talking about the economy. And the message I see from what have been discussed is going back to the fundamentals of the economy. I know Dr. Kaseke is an economist, and I'm confident that what I'm going to say might make sense. When we talk of the economy, we want to create wealth. We want to create employment. We want to create a conducive living environment. Who are the players in that economy? We are all in this room. The public-private partnerships, the 4 Ps. We've got the government, it is here. We've got the private sector, our processors, our milk producers, the producers, both small and large-scale farmers. What are we saying in terms of government? There have been 26, permit taxes which have been spoken about. We have talked about the electricity issues, the water issues. Those are macro fundamental issues. We are talking of moving from NDS 1 to NDS 2. My recommendation is not only for the dairy sector. Zimbabwe is potentially one of the richest countries in the world. We're endowed with a lot of resources, province by province. We can look at our endowments, province by province. You mentioned Chipinge, yeah, they are fantastic for dairy. And they've got all the fundamentals. And I believe if we look at that and then do the basic fundamental economic issues, we need to make sure we produce. When we talk of price, it's a factor of macro issues, which some of it we have no control, but government has to deal with that. And when government has done that, Zimbabwe is endowed with the most hardworking and innovative and resilient people. I want to salute our processors, our producers, our manufacturers. They all need an enabling environment, particularly if we are looking at a FTC. Like my friend has said, we might end up competing and maybe drinking milk from those other countries.
Sorry, we are not going to be competing, but we are going to be drinking.
To be drinking, yes, thank you. I want to mention that we might be drinking that milk. Why? What have they done to produce that milk? Some of these economies were far behind us not long ago, but they've addressed their economic fundamentals. And I believe we just have to change the right mind. We have to look at our mindset, because at the moment we are going around in circles and in circles and circles. Those 4 Ps, government has to do its part, producers do their part, and the farmer do their part. We need that partnership to start working. And it's got to begin somewhere, and we collaborate. We are all saying the right things, but at the end of the day, the starting point was the president has said we need to reduce my costs. NDS economy. If we get our economy right, we are the richest country in the world. There is no doubt about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. But one of the partners is asking, where is the money? One of the partners is asking, where is the money? Which means the other partner is not doing his job or a job.
Precisely. That's what I'm talking about.
All right. Anyone else with any comment? I think we are left with 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Let's see here. Okay, Dr. Man wants to say something?
Yes, because the where is the money question is a question that I think the industry has been asking for a long time, and we've made representation with the Minister of Agriculture, and I think we know that the money, levies have been collected, the money is safely with Treasury. Mechanisms of transferring it into AFC accounts are what has been the stumbling block. And we believe that it's good that Treasury is trying to cross all the T's to make sure the money is safely deposited and used for the purposes. But I think those mechanisms, in my opinion, need to be interrogated. And once they are satisfied, perhaps by June, we need to see the money.
By what? By June?
Yes.
We have already passed June.
I made June 2026. By June 2026.
But the money will be more now.
But anyway, I think more on a serious note, yes. I think this is just the minimum needed. 4 million is the minimum that we require. I think from our similar studies done recently, the investments, first of all, the investment in dairy is highly profitable for ZIDA to look into, for our financing houses to look into, for NASA to look into. There is no doubt about it. Internal rates of returns of 44% are what we are seeing there. So it's not just this money, the levy, it's the entire financing of a very lucrative value chain that we need to have debt capital, equity capital aligned. Thank you.
Thank you. The last one, we are, yes. Let's have the last person, yes? There was somebody with the hand up.
Hello, thank you very much. My name is Rudom Pofu from Kefalos. I just want to address, there's a gentleman who spoke about making high-value products as manufacturers such as cheese and the like. I just wanted to express some of the challenges that processors are also facing. Because we have an elephant in the room that I would like to highlight, which is power itself. I think it was mentioned in the presentation, but it is actually contributing to one of the highest costs, which is, imagine running cold chain freezers and a dairy processing plant on generators. This is the current reality that the government, I would implore you to take also as part of our high priorities in coming up with our NDS2, because power is really going to crush us, not to mention what the other speakers had already mentioned in terms of AFCAFTA already on the door, and cheaper milk right across the Limpopo, and coming all the way from Uganda, we are going to be drinking, and we will close. Thank you.
You heard it from the processor, the manufacturer of some of the milk products, that the major problem is to do with electricity, which is also one of the major components of the cost of production. I think different ministries are here. We had the major concern. Even the farmers have also highlighted that as a major concern. And it's a cross-cutting element in terms of the manufacturing. Now, by the powers invested in me, I'm dissolving this panel discussion. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your contribution. I think we may take our seats. All right, we are having questions which are coming on from social media. Ministry of Lands. Local authorities are said to be causing a lot of problems to farmers. I've heard that some of they're actually moving with the point of sale machine around to farmers, swiping for all the levies, etc. I think we need to balance that. It is also coming out from social media as well. We need to look in terms of how these local authorities are coming up with these levies. All right. While we have dissolved our panel discussion, let's now move on to the remarks on dairy industry competitiveness. I think we are having somebody who is representing Professor Jiri to do the presentation.
Good afternoon, colleagues. If you allow me, Director of Ceremony, to ride on the protocol that has already been observed. Like has been rightly indicated, I'm standing in for the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water, and Rural Development. My name is Abraham Mashumba. I'm a director in the ministry responsible for business development, markets, and trade. I want to suspect his picking on me was deliberate, perhaps because of my portfolio. I was following our discussions, colleagues, and I thought perhaps before I presented the Permanent Secretary's speech verbatim, I could just give you a snippet of the concerns that we are having in the Department of Business Development, Markets and Trade in respect of the area of value addition on our agricultural products. I'm pleased that Kefalos have just come in before my presentation. I picked this morning, colleagues, an application for import of milk products. The applicant is saying they want to import a range of products that are not produced in Zimbabwe. Blueberry cheesecake, Rolo, Kit Kat, Bar One, chocolate fudge, vanilla light for diabetics, tin roof, some of the names I've never heard, jive, strawberry, lemon cheesecake, and they are saying imported country fresh range, that's a name, is real ice cream, not mixed with water. That's a challenge to our producers. We are talking about competitiveness. Amongst all the other things that are constraining us, there's also the issue of the product. And they are actually acknowledging that their stick will sell for $4.50 compared to the local one, which sells for 50 cents. But their customers are happy with the $4.50 because they are eating real ice cream. And they are supplying our hotels, our lodges, our schools, I think some of the elite schools and other institutions, mostly targeting foreigners who are coming into our country on a tourism ticket. They are talking about a range of 17 products compared to the local market that is limited to as many as 4 lines of products. So when an applicant comes to us with this kind of request, we are hard-pressed to deny them. Much as we would like to protect our local industry, but we find ourselves in a situation where, unfortunately, we have to grant a permit. I just thought I could create this appetizer for our processing sector to say up there in the value chain, I think a lot has to be done so that we can curtail imports and save on our much needed foreign currency. Allow me, Director of Ceremony, just to go verbatim through the speech. The Secretary indicates that he is honored to have been a participant in this program that preambles the official unveiling and launch of the Dairy Value Chain Competitive Report, the result of a comprehensive analysis expertly compiled by the National Competitive Commission and dairy value chain stakeholders, a report that highlights the opportunities and challenges for the dairy industry and also profiles strategic pathways for strengthening the competitiveness of the industry. The demand for dairy products continues to grow both locally and beyond our borders, presenting an incredible opportunity for our country from a dairy farmers and value chain producers' point of view. This includes our processors, distributors, retailers, providers of space in terms of land, pens, and other physical infrastructure, suppliers of feeds, chemicals, providers of logistical support, cold chain, marketing facilities, even human capacity development in terms of skills, the area of standards and regulatory requirements, and external trade facilitation and protection. However, as the Dairy Value Chain Competitive Report clearly outlines, our industry's ability to compete effectively will depend on the implementation of some targeted interventions. I think many of them we have already noted in the report and the panel discussions. Secondly, innovations, and definitely very strong collaboration amongst the various players. Enhancing the dairy industry competitiveness requires investment in modern farming techniques, quality feed production, and efficient supply chain management all round. It also calls for robust regulatory frameworks and an enabling environment, to ensure food safety, reduction in compliance costs, of course, culminating in fair pricing models to support both producers and consumers, as well as access to concessionary financial resources that support and empower farmers to scale their operations. This is critical in achieving the dairy industry targets as set out in the Agriculture, Food Systems and Rural Transformation Strategy, which is the blueprint for agricultural sector, as well as our National Development Strategy 1, transition now into National Development Strategy 2, as we march towards our Great Vision 2030. For ourselves as the dairy industry, and also extending to the entire agricultural space and the nation at large. A key pillar in our competitiveness is the adoption of technology for improved genetics, better breeding techniques, better animal health management, space management, better infrastructure for our sector, better feeds for our sector, and advanced processing and packaging facilities and methods. Such innovations are key to ensuring that our dairy industry meets the highest standards of production, productivity, and quality to compete within the region and at a global level. In all these endeavors, the industry players must also ensure sustainability, that we grow the sector in a way that protects our environment. Another crucial factor is market access, that we must strengthen linkages between the farmers, processors, distributors, retailers to ensure efficient pathways from production to consumption by creating an enabling environment for investment in market infrastructure and related facilitation. Colleague participants, industry players here, and distinguished guests, our report is a call for action. I think many reports in many research and survey situations have tended to collect dust in some senior executive offices. But I want to believe that this report will be very different, that it will indeed serve as the roadmap for our collaboration, innovation, and bold decision-making in moving our industry forward. The dairy industry, just for information, is contributing about 4% to our gross domestic product, employing directly over 30,000 individuals. Of course, indirectly, the figures will increase by way of the multiplier effect of the industry. The sector has made significant strides, like we have noted in the discussions and the report itself, focusing on boosting milk yields, promoting value addition, and also looking at issues to do with resilience and climate change mitigation. Milk production has increased by about 15% in the last year. That is the raw milk production. And our dairy head, standing at about 66,000, reflects an increase of about 13.4% within the period of the strategic plan, that is the blueprint for the agricultural sector. Despite these achievements, challenges persist, such as unpredictable weather patterns, high feed costs, limited access to markets and finance. Government is committed to addressing these challenges through various initiatives which aim to support dairy farmers and enhance the overall competitiveness of the sector. Initiatives will include the implementation of the Resilient African Feed and Fodder Systems project, supporting the Presidential Silage Scheme, increasing input packages for small-scale dairy farmers, engaging with financial institutions to develop tailor-made financing frameworks, the issuance of title deeds to farmers for land ownership and collateral purposes, supporting public-private sector partnership models, the recapitalization of the Dairy Revitalization Fund. I was in discussion with the Chief Director at T-Break about an expression of interest that ministry is pursuing with a view to going into an MOU with an organization called Gloucester, who are trying to introduce embryo implant technology, something we want to believe will go a long way in enhancing that issue of numbers. The cows are now coming, and I think in terms of the time frame, I'll also talk about June, and I will not say which June we are referring to. Our farmers deserve a thriving dairy industry, and our consumers deserve high-quality dairy products that are accessible and affordable. As a ministry, however, we are committed to collaborating with the National Competitiveness Commission, dairy, value chain players, other government ministries and departments, academia, and others in implementing the proposed interventions as provided in the implementation matrix of the report that has been shared. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll conclude by just saying, let this program or moment mark the beginning of a new era for our dairy industry competitiveness. We were to take deliberate steps to transform our industry as an economy in a collective and shared manner. And I thank the National Competitiveness Commission in leading this initiative. And let me say everyone else who has contributed to this report, and look forward to seeing the positive changes that we now all collectively as participants and contributors to the report have envisaged and are greatly anticipating. Colleagues, thank you so very much for listening to this presentation. And maybe thankful that there will be no questions around.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I think let's give him another round of applause. The problem is that you presented last, so I don't have a question for you. But if you had that you have presented earlier, I would have so many questions for you. But like what you have said in terms of your development as a ministry, please facilitate that for the small-scale players. They cannot afford the bulls. So let's facilitate the artificial insemination for those ones so that they continue kicking on in terms of their own production. And we know that we also produce some of these heifers from using better bulls and also better artificial insemination. And this can also make the industry grow. So as a ministry, I think let's have a program forward for that, specifically for the dairy sector. Once we are on that, I think we are now almost there at the time that we are waiting for us to launch the report. So for us to be able to launch the report, we want to hear the guest of honor remarks and also the official launch from the acting secretary for the industry and commerce, and also being represented by, I think should be Ms. Kwaramba, who is here to do the launch. But let me hasten to say that I think the program was not good for me, because the first person who was supposed to be speaking was my former workmate. And the next person who was now supposed to be speaking is my former student. And again, the person who is going to act again to be speaking is my classmate and my former student. So let's welcome Ms. Kwaramba for the presentation and also the launch.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kaseke. I think you'll be able to mark me now as my former lecturer. It's a good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vavariro Ropafadzo Kwaramba. I'm the director responsible for strategic policy planning, monitoring, and evaluation in the Ministry of Industry and Commerce. And today I'm representing the acting secretary, Dr. Runyowa, who sends his apologies. He could not join us today because he has called for another engagement. So I think I'll go through the speech. The Secretary for Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Professor Ojiri in absentia, as represented by Mr. Mashumba. Senior government officials here present. The National Competitiveness Commission Board, as represented by Mr. Manyeruke, and the National Competitiveness Commission Executive, Mr. P. Piri, the Zimbabwe Dairy Industry Trust Chairperson and his team, the Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers Chairperson and the team, captains of industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I think maybe one thing that was mentioned, we need to increase the amount of milk we are drinking. But unfortunately, I don't know what ZDIT did to us. They didn't even give us any milk. I thought that bottles would be filled with milk, not water today. So that's something for you, ZDIT. Thank you. It is with great honor and privilege that I stand before you today to officiate the launch of the Dairy Value Chain Competitiveness Report, a project of collaboration, diligence, and the shared vision to industrialize and modernize our economy through inclusive and sustainable growth. Today's event is not just the unveiling of the reports, it is the reaffirmation of our government's commitment to transformative industrial development as set out in the Zimbabwe Industrial Reconstruction and Growth Plan and aligned with the National Development Strategy 1. The dairy industry, as this comprehensive report outlines, is a vital node in our agro-processing value chains. It is central to achieving our goals of food and nutrition security, job creation, increased industrial productivity, and import substitution. The sector supports over 30,000 jobs directly and sustains over 1.3 million livelihoods indirectly. This makes the dairy value chain a strategic enabler for inclusive industrial growth and development. According to the reports, raw milk production increased by 52.5% from 75.4 million liters in 2018 to 150 million liters in 2024. Let's give ourselves a hand for that. However, as has been mentioned, this is still shy of the national requirement of 130 million liters and far below our historic peak of 260 million liters in the 1990s. Current per capita milk consumption stands at 7 liters, a stark contrast to the WHO recommended 45 liters. The gaps are real, and so are the opportunities. This competitiveness report does not only diagnose the challenges facing the sector, but also proposes a forward-looking, implementable set of interventions. It is well aligned with our ZIRGP's pillars, which emphasize upgrading domestic value chains, enhancing investment attractiveness, reducing cost drivers across industries, and building resilience through innovation and infrastructure. Distinguished guests, let me highlight some critical insights and recommendations from the report that mirror the objectives of our industrial recovery efforts. The first item is the regulatory reform and harmonization. I think this was spoken to greatly. The dairy sector is encumbered by over 26 permits and numerous uncoordinated regulatory fees, pushing up the cost of doing business. ZIRGP advocates for streamlining these barriers to improve competitiveness and investor confidence. We are committed to finalizing the amendment of Dairy Acts, obviously in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture, to ensure that we rationalize the overlapping mandates across agencies. It is also important to note that as Ministry of Industry, we are part of the Ease of Doing Business mission that is being run by OPC, and as mentioned already by Mr. Shayanako, where he invited us to the regulatory impact assessment meeting, whereby we are always going to unpack all these regulatory measures to ensure that whenever a regulation is introduced, it is meaningful and it does not lead to an increase in costs. The next item is cost reduction and localization of inputs. Feed accounts for nearly 80% of dairy production costs. The ZIRGP supports import substitution strategies, including the pooled procurement initiative and on-farm feed production. We call on farmers to partner with innovation hubs to scale solutions such as hydroponic fodder and drought-resistant forage crops. The next issue is support for small and medium producers. Over 1,000 small-scale farmers produce less than 200 liters per day, yet they face disproportionate compliance costs. ZIRGP prioritizes inclusive growth and will work to establish a tiered regulatory framework that aligns levies and obligations with farmer capacity. No one-size-fits-all in terms of our regulatory fees. Then energy and infrastructure. Power instability continues to compromise milk quality and processing. We urge dairy value chain actors to leverage the duty-free solar equipment rebates, and the ministry will collaborate with partners to rehabilitate feeder roads, boreholes, and irrigation systems, which are essential for dairy operations. Under financing and research and development, the high cost of capital, currently averaging 35% per annum in local currency, remains a binding constraint under ZIRGP. We are advocating for long-term concessional funding models, particularly for capital-intensive sectors like the dairy sector. Additionally, the capacitation of the dairy services unit and support for artificial insemination technologies must be prioritized. The next issue is enhancing export potential. Zimbabwe remains a net importer of milk and dairy products, yet this sector has potential to be a net exporter. The industrial plan focuses on standards enforcement, labeling integrity, and export readiness, which must be cascaded to our dairy sector. Ladies and gentlemen, the industrialization of agriculture, particularly through value-added sectors like dairy, is no longer optional, it is imperative. Through the coordinated implementation of the recommendations in this report and the strategic focus of the ZIRGP, we can transform our dairy industry from subsistence to commercial scale, from fragmentation to integration, and from survival to global competitiveness. Let me commend the National Competitiveness Commission, the Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers, and the Dairy Processors Association of Zimbabwe, and all stakeholders who contributed to this report. I think we should give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Your report and your commitment to evidence-based policy and sector dialogue is commendable. I think from the discussions we had here, we found that the discussions were very vibrant, and I think as NCC, we're also taking note of the recommendations that were coming from the floor. So let me do what I've been sent here to do. In conclusion, let this report be our blueprint and this moment be our turning point. I call all of us to work together in building a vibrant, resilient, and globally competitive Zimbabwean dairy industry. And with these remarks, I proudly launch the Dairy Value Chain Competitiveness Report today, the 15th of July, 2025. So thank you very much. And as I mentioned, I'm the director responsible for monitoring and evaluation. So there are timelines in there. So I'll be following up. I'll be knocking. Mine is not June 2025 or June. Mine has dates, and I'll be following up. Thank you very much. Good day to you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Kwaramba. Let's give her another round of applause as she will be taking her seat. Minister of Agriculture. what is our total number of dairy cows that we have in Zimbabwe? And can we actually categorize them as those which are drying up at the moment and those which we are milking? Do we have those statistics? We need to have those statistics at our fingertips, isn't it? All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Kwaramba, once again, for that insightful presentation. And let me invite Sorry, there are some deliberations going on. I'm waiting for the outcome of the deliberations before I proceed. All right. If we have been given a thumb up, so let me call Mr. Burutsa, the Chief Executive Officer from Buy Zimbabwe, to actually give us a vote of thanks. And these are the people who always give us noise and say that let's buy Zimbabwe. Let's hear from them and see, are we really buying Zimbabwe or not?
Thank you, Doc. Doc says we always make noise about buying Zimbabwe. Is it noise? But thank you so much, Doc. And I think, earlier on you talked about your former classmates and students and so forth. Let me also just talk about my former classmate who I didn't know was here, but he's here. Kundai, Dr. Kundai Chandangera is here. Please, let's give him. You know, this man was brilliant in school. Eh? He was top, from Form 1 to Form 4 with Thorny High School, and no wonder he became a medical doctor, And I'm just a salesman, who's busy, who's selling Zimbabwe. But welcome, good to see you, Doc. I think just before I go into my speech, I was just doing a bit of a calculation there. I think it was Mutairo who mentioned that I think at our peak we were producing about 260 million liters of milk. That was before the land reform, correct? And I think at that particular time our population was much less than what it is now. Million people, right? We're now sitting at what, 15, 16 million? So effectively, what you guys should be aiming for as the milk processor is around what, 400 million liters. So yes, we are celebrating MAPA 115, but there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. Each time I drive past Kadoma, my heart bleeds when I see that factory, a dairy board closed. Gweru, where I grew up, that plant closed. It's really saddening. So, but the opportunities for this industry are huge, and you can imagine what it can do to this economy in terms of creating jobs and so forth. But I'm not here to start the program again, but just to give a vote of thanks, and let me do that right away. The Secretary for Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development, Professor Obed Jiri, here represented. Secretary for Industry and Commerce, Dr. Utete Thomas Ushe, again represented here. Permanent secretaries who may be here. Senior government officials here present. The National Competitiveness Commission, represented by the Executive Director as well, Mr. Philip Piri, my good friend. Captains of industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I know you are hungry. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. On behalf of the National Competitiveness Commission and on my own behalf, I would like to extend our deepest gratitude to each and every one of you for gracing this very important event, the launch of the Dairy Value Chain Competitiveness Report, the 5th Value Chain Competitive Report to be produced by the Commission. Let's give them a big round of applause for the wonderful work that they are doing. Ladies and gentlemen, your presence here today reflects your commitment to the growth and sustainability of the dairy sector, and we are truly honored by your attendance and participation. First and foremost, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to our Honorable Minister, Dr. A.J. Masuka, for taking time to give the remarks of the dairy sector from the agricultural perspective. Your insightful remarks and unwavering support for agricultural development has set a strong foundation for the discussions today and going forward. Our heartfelt appreciation also goes to our Honourable Minister, Mangaliso Ndlovu, for your enlightened representation on the challenges and opportunities within the dairy value chain. Your support and expertise have undoubtedly enriched our understanding and will guide future interventions, thereby enhancing the competitiveness of the dairy sector. We are also deeply grateful to our panelists and contributors for sharing your valuable perspectives and experiences. Your discussions have provided actionable insights that will help stakeholders at all levels to strengthen the dairy industry. A special word of thanks goes to our line ministry, the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, as well as the Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, Water, Fisheries and Rural Development, the Farmers and Processors Associations, for your support in making this report a reality. Your dedication to evidence-based policy making and sustainable agriculture and industrial practices is commendable. To the fourth estate, that's the media, here present, thank you for amplifying the findings of this report and helping us reach a wider audience. Your role in shaping public discourse on dairy sector development is invaluable. Last but not least, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. N. Kaseke, our facilitator and moderator. Let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you so much, Doc, and well done. Normally, we don't appreciate our EDs during such events, so let's thank him. The efforts also would like to thank the efforts of our NCC team, whose hard work and dedication have produced this comprehensive analysis. Your commitment to excellence ensures that this report will serve as a vital tool for policymakers, investors, and dairy sector stakeholders. Your efforts have not gone unnoticed. As we conclude the launch, let today be the genesis of us jointly carrying forward the key takeaways from this report and work collectively in implementing, and let me highlight, implementing, and I like what Ms. Kwaramba, she's director responsible for implementing. Let's implement and should be knocking on the doors and making sure that the report is implemented. Proposed interventions clearly articulated in the value chain competitiveness implementation matrix in this report. Implementation and implementation alone will enhance productivity, inclusivity, and sustainability in the dairy value chain. Once again, thank you all for your time, contributions, and continued partnership. We look forward to future collaborations that will drive meaningful change in the sector. When I heard that this event was taking place here at the venue, I was happy because I like this venue because it serves, I think, probably the best food in the country. I like their food. So if you came for the food like me, please enjoy the food, enjoy your lunch, and thank you very much. Siyabonga, tatenda, and have a wonderful day. I thank you.
Sir, thank you very much for the vote of thanks, but please pardon me where I've said that the Buy Zimbabwe, they always make a noise. You always sell your products, which are local products, so pardon me in terms of that. Okay. While somebody representing farmers is coming up front, please come up front. There's somebody who wants to make an announcement representing farmers. All right, while standing there, I want to apologize for those whom I have confronted, but I think it was for the right cause, isn't it? I was involved in the drafting of the Zimbabwe Agricultural Investment Plan, the National Competitiveness Report, a lot of evaluation for some of these dairy production farmers, for different players in the Zimbabwe dairy industry. So please, I'm sorry if I was having more knowledge than some of those things because of what I do and also what I compliment to the government. So I was actually moving ahead because of the knowledge that I have in terms of other areas. But actually, I also want to thank you for your contributions. Also thank you for your insights that have come through the discussion process. Yes, let's have somebody from dairy farmers before I dissolve everything.
Thank you very much. Mine is a very quick announcement on behalf of Zimbabwe Association of Dairy Farmers. Your presence here shows us your interest and value for the dairy value chain. So also to take advantage of this opportunity to highlight that on the 23rd of July, that's next week on Wednesday, the Association of Dairy Farmers will be hosting their annual general meeting. And this includes an open session for dairy farmers. And this is going to be held at the Beatrice Club. There should be, hopefully the flyer will go up. We've got the team during the break. Yes, thank you very much. So we are going to be having the annual general meeting at the Beatrice Country Club. And this is going to be running from 9 o'clock to 4 p.m. And this is going to be next week on Wednesday on the 23rd of July. And the main session is actually going to run from 10 o'clock until 2 when we serve lunch at 1. And then we are also going to have technical sessions. So for those that are more policymakers, the open session is running from 10 o'clock to 1 p.m. when we'll have lunch, and from 2 p.m. to 4, we are actually going to be having technical sessions. We've got various speakers. We've got some of our value chain stakeholders playing. There's an opportunity to partner, sponsor us. So I've got the team. In the interest of time, I'm sure ZADF team, if you can just raise your hand so that the people that are here can at least just see who they can talk to over lunch. But thank you. We look forward to hosting you next week.
Okay. Before we close, I've been told that there is a photo shoot to be done at the banner at the NCC banner at the back there outside, and let's also just bow our heads and pray for the food, because sometimes we don't pray for the food. So let me just do the short prayer for the food. Lord, bless the food that we are about to eat and make us share this food with others. Amen. By the powers invested in me, I dissolve this congregation, and please, after the food, go home. Don't come back. Thank you.